What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Lab Report. For those that are new, the Lab Report is essentially a show where we go through the latest drops in hip-hop throughout the past week or past weeks, and we compile them into three lists: the duds of the week, the singles of the week, and the albums of the week. We go through in condescending order and with the top three lists for each one. So as usual, let's start with the duds of the week. Coming in number 3 on the duds of the week, we have Touch Your Toes by Jada Youngin featuring Mulatto. So I definitely think I have some Jada Youngin songs in my playlist for sure. So from what I've heard, this is definitely the worst outing he's had in my opinion in terms of a song in general. I think on any of his projects, I think this is the worst song that has come out of his discography. If I'm being quite honest, his hook and his verse were easily the downfall of this entire song. I think Mulatto was a saving grace. Honestly, Mulatto is the only reason that I like this song more than the #1 song. I think she absolutely killed it. I think she's been rapping her butt off lately, and I'm really starting to become a Mulatto fan because I definitely think she's up there. Like, girl can rap. So her verse fit the production really well. She also really went with the stripper anthem theme of the song really well. I think she followed that trend and that style a lot better than Jada Youngin did, and it was his song. So she definitely killed her verse. So I don't know if this is just like a rarity for Jada Youngin to miss like this. I don't know if this is his usual subject matter, but if this was him and his label's attempt at trying to get, a hit or something like that, then I think he might want to go back to a different subject matter because it doesn't seem like the club banger stuff is for him. Coming in at number 2, we have Both Sides by Gucci Mane featuring Lil Baby. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm hoping that this is just a song that Gucci decided to drop just because it was with Lil Baby and he wanted to capitalize off Lil Baby's growth over the past year, because it definitely sounded like a throwaway track and something that I definitely hope Gucci isn't gonna put on an actual album or mixtape. The song was just boring, it was generic, it'll put you to sleep, there's no production progression, there's no notable bars, it just wasn't good. Lil Baby. He missed, y'all. He missed. This is definitely one of Lil Baby's weakest appearances throughout this year so far. The weakest, actually. I don't think this is even a concept. I think this is his weakest appearance that he's had so far. And that sucks because we've been praising Lil Baby on the show for a minute now with how good his verses have been, how good his singles have been. But this is definitely the first time I think he's missed, and it's a feature verse. So I'm not gonna hold it over him too much, but I definitely think he could have came a little bit harder. And I don't think this is gonna be, a scratch on his record for the year. The production choice is also whack. Like it was like a weak beat with like a childish xylophone in the background, but the xylophone sounded corny almost. Like I'm talking like Logic corny. I don't know what Gucci thought like was gonna come out of that production, but it didn't fit either one of them. So the song didn't work for me. I always try to say, maybe it's just not for me instead of just saying something's trash. So if you're a Gucci fan, you might like the song. I personally didn't, but I think Gucci fanatics can definitely find something that they might like in it. Coming in at number 1, we have Mr. Two-Piece himself with Almost There by Lucky. So we talked about Lucky last week and how much I did not like his single leading up to this album drop. I didn't know he was dropping an album. I checked Spotify and saw he was dropping an album, and you can imagine my disappointment when I knew that I had to listen to this. This is just straight up boring. My first listen to Lucky didn't go well last week, and to come to this week and now to be disappointed again is like it. I think this is the finishing blow. I genuinely don't know if I can make it through another Lucky song, another Lucky album. It just wasn't. It wasn't good to me, and it felt like it was almost a waste of my time. It was the same cadence, the same flow, the same melodies, same weak production. Nothing worked for this album. Nothing worked for him. I don't know if this is him doing this or if he just has a bunch of yes men around him that are telling him that this sounds good. And I'm sure he has a fan base. Obviously he has a fan base. Somebody's enjoying his music, but for me, his music just isn't. It's not hitting right now, and I definitely think he has potential. I definitely think he has one of those laid back flows, but to me there's a difference between having a chill flow and a lazy flow, and I think he's on the brink of the lazy factor. There's rappers like Gunna. I'm trying to think of another. I can't even think of anything. Gunna's just the best example, but to have these flows they can just lay back on the beat and ride it, and that's fine. They sound good on that. but lucky, I don't think he has that charisma to do that, and I think it ends up sounding really lazy. It makes it sound like he doesn't care what he's rapping about. So if you want to listen to how boring this project is, or if you want to see if I'm exaggerating, the song that I would recommend is Prada Tune. I think it's a perfect summation of how this album plays out and the overall sound of it. So I would go listen to that song, see if you like it. If you do like it, let me know in the comments, because maybe I'm bugging. Now we're gonna move on to the good stuff. We're gonna move on to the singles of the week, starting number 3 with the one that we liked the least, and going up to number 1 that we liked the most out of all the tracks we dropped this week. Coming in at number 3, we have "Tell Me You Love Me" by Trippie Redd and Juice WRLD. Trippie's really been in his, a sentimental bag lately, so I think this is another super somber love ballad. I think it was very well put together. The songwriting was dope. Him and Juice WRLD's melodies and vocals really meshed well together. The production on this thing wasn't too special, but I don't think the production is something that had to be super, advanced or in-depth on a track like this. Something where, they're just singing over something that's super somber is meant to put you in your feels. I don't think the production has to be outlandish and just this big grand thing. It almost had a bouncy dance feel to it in terms of, the general cadence and the flow of the song. It definitely almost had a little bouncy dancey feel to it, almost like a ballroom type thing, and it was really dope. So one of the important highlights of this track for me is simply the fact that Juice WRLD's quality hasn't really dipped too much since his passing. I know with a lot of rappers, when projects or songs drop with them on it afterwards, a lot of their music sort of tends to take a dip in terms of quality, because it's unfinished, so there's nothing they can do about it. They might not even put it out, but the quality drops nonetheless. But Juice WRLD is definitely straight away from that. His music has remained the same, and I think that just highlights how much of a loss that was for the hip hop community. I think he was super talented, and I definitely think we missed out on a lot of potential with his passing. Coming in at number 2, we have R&B with Young Dolph featuring Megan Thee Stallion. This duo goes hard. This is definitely not a duo that I expected to collab on a track together. But both of them being from the South and being from that, that 3-6, that generation that came up on 3-6 and were influenced by their music and the way they made their production. I should have known that this was going to be a banger. So the production on this is, just a simplistic, down south, that Memphis trap sound that Dolph is known for. Nothing really new there. But on the other hand, you have Megan Thee Stallion graces every single track she gets on. Like, this woman has so much charisma behind what she's saying. You believe everything she says. Whether you're a man or a woman, I think she has a crossover appeal. Or even as a man, I feel myself like rapping along to whatever she's saying, regardless of the content of it. Her verses are just plain fun. Anybody can get behind it. I've seen people of all ages, all belief systems, really just cling on to Megan, and that makes me super happy. I think she works hard and she deserves it. And I genuinely think that I haven't heard a feature, at least yet, where she hasn't killed it and she hasn't just completely outshined whatever rapper was on it before her. And this doesn't take away from how talented Young Dolph has been. I definitely think he's a prominent voice in the Memphis area. A lot of people would consider him the best voice to be coming out of Memphis. So he's definitely doing his thing, and I definitely think if he keeps it up, he'll eventually break through that Memphis threshold that we were talking about last week. Coming in at number 1 this week, an artist that I'm not gonna lie, I haven't always been the biggest fan of. I thought their music was kind of corny, just straight up. I'm not gonna lie, but I think over the last project they dropped, I can't remember what it was called, but I thought it was super dope. I thought it showed a lot of growth, progression. And then this song too, it seems like he's keeping down that track, and I think his music has matured a bunch. And I think he's putting out really quality stuff lately. So coming in at number 2, we have Riri by Amine. I love what he did with this track in terms of meshing the subject matter. Like, the subject matter he provides on this track sounds like it was made to be put on production like this. The way he raps about it, the way he rides the production on it. It shines the subject matter through in a way that I don't think it would have if it would have been on a different beat. So the song pretty much has a subject matter that's nothing new in hip hop, but I definitely think he added a sound to it that we haven't really heard before, and I think it sounds really dope. It's essentially him talking about having a ride or die in your life, before the fame, before all the cars and the money and the lifestyle. A lot of times rappers rap on this subject in a way that's like, oh, I gotta be hard, I gotta be like the tough guy. But he sort of tones that down a little bit. It makes it almost sound like R&B-ish in a way, like an R&B hybrid. of a song, and it sounds really, really good. I encourage you to listen to it. Now we're gonna move on to the albums of the week. Coming in at number 3, we have Tusi with Platinum Heart Deluxe. So unfortunately, I missed the regular version of this album. I don't know when it came out. I honestly felt like I would have liked it a little more, just because it would have been a lot more concise. And it would have left me with a lot less to listen to. Because I do think Tusi has a sound that it definitely can get stale and can get old if you listen to it in one quick succession. So I sort of broke this album down. I listened to it, I listened to it multiple times. I broke it up so I wasn't getting super overwhelmed, and I'm glad I did that. But on the grand scheme of things, I can definitely see where if you're listening to this album in one sitting, like most albums are supposed to be listened to anyway, I definitely think it could get stale, and his sound doesn't really have enough variety to carry a 20-track album.
A few moments later.
That's not to say that this sound doesn't work for him. I think the sound definitely works. I think he rides with it well. But I do think, there's a little bit of versatility that needs to be had before people start catching on to his sound and sort of getting old with it pretty quickly. There is versatility, however, in the subject matter, and there's trench music, talking about growing up in the hood. But then there's also, your traditional breakup songs that are really, somber. So the subject matter is definitely there. Hopefully he doesn't run out of things to talk about in the future. But it's just the sound and the cadence itself, I think, that really just, they take away from what I think this album could have been. So I'm interested to see where he goes in the future. I would like to see him use more features in the future too. I think a lot of times, rappers that lack versatility can sort of be covered up with putting good features on your album or on your song, and it makes it seem like it's less stale. So I definitely would like to see him, have a little bit more appearances on his next project, but I think this is a good start. Coming in at number 2, we have PTSD Deluxe by Herbo. So I'm not gonna lie, I looked at this album and I saw how many songs Herbo was adding, and I got a little worried, y'all. I got a little worried because this is basically a brand new album with how many songs he added. I think he added just as many songs to this as was on the original album. And so my worries got even worse because off rip, like the first 2 or 3 songs are just straight up not good. I didn't enjoy, I don't think, any of them. It wasn't until I got to the track Real One. I got to the track Real One, and that's sort of when he grabbed my attention, and from there the deluxe album took off. He really got in his production bag with the song Lil Ride. From there, as soon as he got to Real One, you get it's a step up. You get to Lil Ride, it's even a step up above that. So the progression, it got better as you went through. So I definitely think he put a little bit too many tracks on here for sure. I definitely think he could have condensed that down, cut off those tracks at the beginning for sure. But I think overall it was a really, really good deluxe album. And I'm starting to see a trend with a lot more rappers doing better with the deluxe albums. That's the only one that I haven't really liked lately was the A Boogie one that we talked about a few episodes back. But I definitely think that a lot of these rappers are really taking their time with these deluxe albums and strategically putting really solid songs on them. Coming in at number 1, we have Alfredo by Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist. There was no competition. You should have known when this album came out there was going to be no competition for Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist, definitely a solid combo, so you knew this album was going to be fire. Alchemist is so good at making beats that you feel like you would see in a Tarantino movie or something. Like the samples that he goes with, they're absolutely crazy. He kills his production every time to the point where I don't even have to say that Alchemist killed his production, you just know what I'm talking about. The instrumentation, the samples were smooth all the way through, really gritty. It sounds like I said, something out of a movie with how good they are. And I always see people talking about top producer conversations, at least younger people my age, and I hate that we never talk about Alchemist in that conversation. And that's not to take away from our Metros, our Take Keys and stuff like that, but Alchemist has been in the game for so long, and he's been making these classic projects with these rappers, and I really hope that he starts to get his due diligence very soon in terms of people talking about him in the rap game. Freddie Gibbs is on a whole nother level than a lot of rappers right now. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Like, there's hardly any lyricists out right now that's touching Freddie Gibbs in terms of how much he's dropping, with how consistent he is with those drops. The only collective right now, and they do it as a collective, not as a single person, that I can say like that's up to par lyrically with him, that's dropping this quality of music, is Griselda. But like I said before, that's a collective, that's not just one person. Freddie Gibbs is doing this on his own, and he's absolutely killing every single thing that he's dropping, almost to the point where it's like an album a year, maybe 2 a year, and all of them have been solid. The rapping is there, the subject matter is there, the production is there. There's nothing I can take as a flaw with this album. No exaggeration. I'm not trying to like ride as Johnny or anything, but like there's nothing that you can critique about this album truthfully and honestly and say that it wasn't good. Do I think it's I don't think it's to the level of Bandana for me personally, but I definitely think Alfredo is easily one of the best albums that's come out this year. Freddie Gibbs continues to kill it, and of course I'm looking forward to anything that this man puts out in the future. All right, that's gonna be it for this episode. I appreciate everybody that chilled. I hope you find something that you can listen to just based off of our list today. Share it with your friends. Maybe they can find some music that they like too. Make sure to follow my socials and the links in the description. Catch a stream on Twitch, that'll be in the description as well. Special shout out, all the background music you guys hear and the music in my intro and outro is from the homie Jutsu. Make sure you give him a follow on all his socials, listen to his beats. Definitely gonna be a big producer coming up in the game. I'm just waiting on him to blow up. But his beats are sick, so definitely follow him on Instagram to hear his stuff. Buy some beats from him. Dude's super talented. So yeah, make sure you go buy some merch. That'll be in the description as well. And as always, we'll be back in the line this week. See ya.